Welcome. Today we are talking about Chapter 10, Communicating for Results. Humans are all about talk, and frankly, the best managers talk better than the rest of us. They stay on target and get their messages across time and again to all manner of recipients, from staff to stockholders to the news media. Fortunately, this is a skill you can develop, and in this chapter, you will learn about the communication process and develop your skills at sending, receiving, and responding to messages through the use of models. You can also develop skills at dealing with emotional people and improve your ability to give and receive criticism. Here we go. Communication is the process of transmitting information and meaning. Communication is the foundation of people's skills, and it is a transferable skill between the person and professional spheres of your life. The world of work revolves around communications. Unfortunately, miscommunication is common in organizations. This is why organizations rate communication skills as the most valuable skill or ability for career success. But communication skills are lacking in many job applicants. Personal and professional relationships are based on communications, as is networking. Think about the jerks you have to deal with. How would you rate their communication skills and success? Work on developing your communication skills because they have a direct impact on your career success and personal relationships. Developing your communication skills is the objectives of this chapter. Think about how communications flow through an organization. The first thing that comes to mind is the formal channels. These can be vertical, down from the top, from the CEO and corporate executives on down the chain of command, and up from the bottom, from staff at the front line and on up the chain. Communications can also be horizontal, or same level communications between salespeople and between vice presidents, for example. Then there are informal channels, or the grapevine, that every organization has. These channels resemble the ricochet of bullets. So, organizational communication flows up, it flows down and sideways, formally and vertical and horizontal directions, and informally through the grapevine. Vertical communication is the downward and upward flow of information through the organization. The hierarchical chain of command creates formal vertical communication. Top management's strategies, policies, and rules are communicated down the chain of command to instruct employees. The delegation process is downward communication. Upward communication, on the other hand, involves staff sending information up through the different management levels. To facilitate upward communication, most organizations encourage open-door management styles and communications with the idea of making people feel comfortable talking to managers in order to improve results. Coaches often meet with their teams when they are performing below par to get feedback from players on how the team can start winning. Depending on the issue, the coach's style, and the team's culture, the information flow is downward. The coach tells players what they need to do. Upward, players are telling the coach what needs to happen, or ideally, both. Horizontal communication is the flow of information between colleagues and peers. It is formal communication, but it does not follow the chain of command. Instead, it is multi-directional. Horizontal communication is needed to coordinate within a department, between team members, and between different departments. When the manager of the marketing department communicates with the manager of the production department or other departments, horizontal communication is taking place. Organizations are becoming flatter and using more horizontal communication. Mike Francesca briefly left WFAN only to return with an even larger communication plan. His WFAN radio show will also appear on an app for the show instead of using a TV simulcast. The radio will be used as a generator of content to create more digital operations. The grapevine is the informal flow of information in any direction throughout an organization. It is informal communication because it is not official or sanctioned by management. The information is often called rumors and gossip. Grapevine information can begin with anyone in the organization and can flow in any direction. Video game company Valve, who created Half-Life and Portal, says that the grapevine tends to be used by and contribute to clicks. Grapevines are powerful means of communication. They can be useful and they can be destructive. Gossip has wrecked homes, friendships, and organizations. Organizations sometimes use grapevines to their advantage. Whole Foods CEO John Mackey says it uses the grapevine effectively. You should spread good news through the grapevine. But reining in rumors during times of uncertainty can be a daunting undertaking. When you hear false rumors, try to nip them in the bud. Effective managers provide formal information truthfully and quickly to prevent gossip and to correct errors spreading through the grapevine, because transparency helps eliminate gossipy speculation. The communication process begins when the sender encodes a message and selects the transmission channel. The message is transmitted through a channel and the receiver decodes the message and decides if feedback is necessary. The receiver may transmit feedback, a response, or a new message through a channel. The sender and receiver may continually change roles as they communicate. We're going to talk more about encoding and decoding and those transmission channels here in just a moment. When you send a message, you are initiating the communication. Your message is the information, meaning, or intent that you want to get across to the receiver. It's your responsibility to make communication easy for the receiver. Make sure you have a clear intent for your message. If you don't have a clear idea of what you want to get across, neither will the receiver. Avoid the barriers discussed in the next that block communication. So to overcome problems of misinterpretation, consider what your receivers need in the way of language to understand your message. Don't use jargon with people who are not familiar with the terminology, and especially with people from different cultures. Think for a moment about the many ways we use sport terms. Take the expressions sure shot, pool, slam dunk, such as in basketball, and tap in golf. Some people don't have a clue as to what these phrases mean, so watch your use of jargon if you need to explain it. All of us have limits on the amount of information we can take in and process at any given time. New employees commonly experience information overload during their first few days at work because they are given so much new information. With so much information available so instantly via the internet, we are often dazzled and overwhelmed and don't know what to do with it all. Overload is now the norm. We have reached the too much information age. To minimize information overload, limit the information in your message to an amount the receiver can reasonably take in. If you talk too long, the receiver will become bored or will lose the thread of the message. Use two-way communication, checking periodically to be sure that the receiver is keeping up with you, as in your job instructional training. Make sure that your message makes sense. One of the simplest ways to do this is to check the order of your points. Outlines really help here. You want the receiver to be able to follow your message easily and not become confused. So instead of sending an important message off the top of your head, develop a well-planned message to overcome this barrier. When transmitting your message, after you encode your message, you must select the channel, such as oral, written, phone, or text, or email, video conference, or face-to-face meeting through which you will transmit the message. Different channels work for different messages. The use of an inappropriate channel can kill communication. Emails or cold calls just won't work in some situations. Using a phone call to clinch a deal with a star player isn't the same as meeting with him in person. Before you send an important message, give careful thought to which channel will help you get your message across. In the next section, we'll examine various channels in detail. So let's continue with barriers. Decoding occurs when receivers translate or interpret your message. They mix the content in your message with other ideas or information they have and with the emotions they are feeling at the time. They also look at your message through their own perceptual filters. or rose-colored glasses. All of these can be barriers to receiving a message accurately. Trust opens us to working and communicating effectively with others. All of us are receivers. As receivers, consider whether we trust the sender and whether the sender has credibility. When we don't trust senders for whatever reason, either that they don't know what they're talking about, they don't have all the facts, they don't have good judgment, they've betrayed others before, we are reluctant to accept their messages at face value. Once doubt enters the equation, it is extremely difficult to rebuild trust. Be honest and authentic in your communications. Know what you're talking about. Get the facts straight before you send your message. We are all guilty of not giving the sender our complete attention when we're distracted by things like our phones. Our attention can wander. We may be more interested in how we're going to respond than in hearing what the sender is saying. I know we're guilty of that. We've thought of something clever to say and we stop listening and start framing it. We want to get to the end of the story. We don't want to hear all the details. They're just boring. So help your receivers listen to you. Don't start your message until they stop what they're doing and give you their attention. Avoid distraction. Ask them to put their phones away. Question them in such a way they must paraphrase your message and play it back to you. Stop during a long message and give receivers a chance to ask questions and to think about what you just said. Ask for their thoughts on what you've said so far. Make your message interesting. If you are a problem talker, people will not listen to you. Getting emotional can cloud our judgment, so being calm helps communication. When we are angry, sad, or irrationally attached to an idea, a concept, or a person, we find it difficult to be objective and to hear or decode the real message. When we're angry, sad, or irrational attached to an idea, take the receiver's emotion into consideration when you have to send a difficult message. Don't send messages when you are emotional. Try not to get the person emotional and stay calm throughout the discussion. Distortion or filtering occurs when we alter information that we can send and receive. It's a nice word for lying. We don't want to use the word lying because we may offend someone. We may do this for innumerable reasons. We don't like the truth, so we twist a message to fit our version of the incident and the facts. We believe what we want to believe. Tell the truth. Many people have said that things are going well only to get burned at the last minute when they can't deliver. This results in lost trust and credibility. It's better to let people know of problems early because they may be able to help you. Likewise, when receiving messages, we hear what we want to hear. In these situations, you may have to repeat your message. You may have to reframe it. Asking for feedback helps you discern what the receivers are hearing. Listen carefully. Avoid having yes employees who filter out bad news. Problems get solved only when they are faced honestly. Some executives build truth-telling cultures. Emotions refer to feelings: anger, annoyance, boredom, disappointment, distrust, fear, happiness, and sadness that influence our behavior. Our brain can't be both rational and highly emotional at the same time. Emotions win every time. We tend to make poor decisions when we are highly emotional and hurt. Our relationships, it doesn't really matter what people think and what they know or don't know. They act on what they feel. Someone you know personally or work with is going to start an emotional exchange with you. Already been there? It is going to continue to happen throughout your life, so be ready for it. If you want to succeed both personally and professionally, understanding emotions and learning to deal with them, yours and others, will help. Realize that feelings are subjective. They reveal people's attitudes and needs. They tell you if they are happy or sad. Often disguised as factual statements, "It's hot in here," rather than "I feel hot." This topic is boring, rather than "I'm feeling bored by this topic," and neither right nor wrong. So don't judge others' feelings or let them tell you how to feel. Actually, we cannot choose feelings or control the feelings themselves. We can control how we express our feelings. We choose our behavioral responses, what we say and do.